The walls are closing in on Ripple's ability to try to buy Circle. We also have some new information coming to light where Circle is actually denying even getting an offer from Ripple or Coinbase. We are going to take a look at some new information today. I'm also going to show you what I think will be Ripple's next steps if they don't or are unable to acquire Circle. We're also going to look at some other information in this video. USDT was actually on CNBC talking about they're finally getting an audit, and it looks like they're getting called out in this clip. You have to see it. I haven't seen this clip before, and it is gold. Let's start here. Good Morning Crypto says, breaking, Circle submits IPO filing to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. No acquisitions by Ripple or Coinbase seem likely at this point. It says Circle Internet Group has filed for an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange. The company is offering 24 million Class A shares with a 9.6 million from the firm and 14.4 million from stakeholders. The shares are expected to be priced between $24 and $26, trading under the ticker CRCL, which is Circle. And then, of course, there are a lot of other big channels like Digital Perspective saying this is what negotiations look like. Lock in. Circle has denied reports about the potential acquisition talks with Ripple and Coinbase and said Circle is not for sale. Our long-term goals remain the same. So there is a lot of confusion out here of like, did they really offer this? You know, we got a lot of reporting, especially from, Paul Barron and those type of channels saying that this was absolutely true. This was trying to move forward, and now Circle is denying everything, which is, I don't know, is that how things are done out here? I really don't know. Breaking, Circle denies all speculation. Robinhood app has already listed Circle for IPO for $24, $26. If you are interested in acquiring Circle stock, you definitely want to go take a look at apps like Robinhood and others that do offer. Just verify and make sure that it's a reputable place that you are trying to buy IPO shares from. Obviously, talk with your financial advisor, whoever gives you advice when it comes to stocks and these types of things. All right, so now that Circle is denying, Ripple and Coinbase trying to buy them, doesn't look like Ripple is going to be successful in acquiring Circle. So where does Ripple go next? I'm always trying to think a few steps ahead. I think this is a lot of fun to do this research and to talk with you about it. I kind of live for this stuff now. It makes me so excited. So here we go. I wanted to ask it, Circle's about to IPO and it doesn't look like Ripple will be able to acquire them. What stablecoin company would be next, in line for Ripple's choice? And so it gave me some information here. Top acquisition candidates for Ripple in the stablecoin game would be True USD or TUSD. It says why 494 million market cap Q1 2025 with a focus of transparency via real-time assertions of a third-party escrow accounts, institutional grade compliance tools, and multi-chain support via Ethereum, Avalanche, etc. And then feels Ripple's need for a trusted audit-friendly stablecoin to complement RLUSD. I'm not too sure, I'd want to see how big True USD really is. Let's see, how big is TUSD in market cap? All right, let's while that's figuring it out, let's take a look at some of these other choices here. Gemini dollar is another one. It says why fully regulated, NYDFS approved with monthly assertions, backed by Gemini's exchange infrastructure and institutional client base. Strategic fit, aligns with Ripple's enterprise focus and provides direct access to Gemini's custody solutions. I don't know if Gemini would be interested in doing this, but my thing too is I think when Ripple was looking to acquire Circle had $60 billion across 104 blockchains. That made sense to try to spend, $5 billion or $10 billion to try to acquire that entire network. I believe Gemini is a lot smaller. Not sure if Ripple, would be going out of their way to do this. There's also Paxos Standard, also known as Pax, has a 70 million market cap Q1 2025 with FDIC insured reserves and NYDFS licensing, proven regulatory track record with legacy infrastructure. The strategic fit would be offers a turnkey solution for Ripple to expand into asset-backed tokens via gold and others. And then Wildcard decentralized options, which while less likely due to Ripple's institutional focus, you do have MakerDAO's DAI, which has a $5.3 billion market cap that could provide provide a decentralized stablecoin ecosystem to counterbalance centralized competitors, the integration opportunities with Ripple's XRP Ledger DeFi projects. And it talks about Ripple's acquisition logic. This is what Ripple's thinking, or this is what AI thinks Ripple is thinking. Market consolidation, acquiring smaller compliant stablecoins allows Ripple to rapidly scale its stablecoin market share without regulatory pushback. Also, cross-border synergy, pairing RLUSD with an acquired stablecoin could create multi-currency settlement corridors for XRP liquidity, stablecoins, and stability. You're also looking at revenue streams, interest income, and revenue assets, e.g. US Treasuries, aligns with Ripple's institutional revenue model. And the challenges that they would face here is the valuation pressures. Smaller stablecoins like TUSD and GUSD may demand premiums amid crypto's bull market, and regulatory scrutiny. Acquisitions could attract antitrust attention if Ripple's market influence grows too quickly. So there's obviously a lot of things at play here, and Ripple doesn't want to maybe overcorrect them not being able to acquire Circle. And so it looks like True USD here basically has a market cap of about 500 million. So not too far off with what Ripple already has with RLUSD. But let me know down below what you think Ripple's next move could be in the acquisition space for a stablecoin company. I'd love to better understand what you think is going to happen. I love asking you guys because you guys come up with some really, really cool answers. I'm looking forward to reading those. All right. And then when you take a look at Crypto Darren posted this, I went through this, maybe a few weeks ago. It says US Treasury compares RLUSD, USDC, and USDT. And here's what are the potential consequences of stablecoin growth on the Treasury market. And what I find interesting here is we all understand that USDT doesn't have the audit that it needs to be in the European Union. And as soon as the Genius Act is signed into law, USDT would probably need to pull out of the US market because of that regulation will make it harder for them to operate without doing this extra due diligence. What I want to show you is this clip right here. This is one of the founders of USDT, and listen to why, he's there. He's asked, why haven't you guys been able to complete an audit? Like, what is going on? And look at the facial reactions, the pauses. I think you can pick up a lot of tells just by watching this guy trying to squirm out of his chair to answer this question. Check this out.
That story back in March saying that you were in talks with a Big Four accounting firm. Since then, have you hired a firm to do this work?
We are very in good progress with that. I'm very positive.
Well, let me ask a question. Just given all the questions, why wouldn't you hire them and say, in a month from now, you need to put out a report right this second? Just because I would assume if everything is as good as you say, that would be actually helpful to your business.
Well, they still believe that there is a reputational risk, right? Again, they went from an administration that was very aggressive against crypto with OCC.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Just because I would assume if everything is as good as you say.
Against crypto and now turning in favor of crypto, there was Operation Choke Point 2.0. The same people that are managing the Big Four auditing firms are very, very cautious. So again, being onboarded with the Big Four auditing firm for the purpose of audit is a long process and requires them to become comfortable with the new landscape that is changing.
Really quickly, right? Ripple's RLUSD has only been around for less than a year, and they get audited every single month by the New York Department of Financial Services. So for the founder of Tether to come up here and basically say, oh, well, we're trying to do this, but it's difficult. The Big Four, there was all these issues with the Biden administration and regulation, like bullshit. You have all of these other stablecoin companies that want to do business in America going and doing the right things. They're getting all of their stuff audited, so there can be trust inside of that ecosystem and inside of their stablecoin. But you can't. You made what, $12-13 billion last year? 7 or 8 of that was off of the stablecoin, and the rest of that was off of their investments. You're telling me you have that much money and you can't get an audit done in a month, right? If it was my company and I was risking getting kicked out of the US market, which is the biggest market in the world, I would move heaven and earth to try to resolve whatever issues I need to do so my company can flourish. I'm really interested to hear your take on this clip because I thought this clip was insane. I haven't seen this yet, and it got some fire burning, in my soul here.
That's about them putting their reputation behind your numbers. That's what I'm saying. So you're saying they're not convinced yet that they want to do that work?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that
we don't care about the usage of USDT in Europe and the US. We don't think Europe and US are a good market for us.
But bull, right? Man, when I saw that the first time, I screamed. I was like, what? I hope my neighbor doesn't get too mad at me when I do that. All right. The reality is there is a global framework for stablecoins. It's a global standard. So you also have not just governments all around the world, but you have them coming together at the G20 and working to set global policy for fintech companies and stablecoins because they know how important it's going to be for these G20 governments, as well as every other country and government that works with the G20 for trade and all of this stuff. You want to be able to have a frictionless system where value can move seamlessly across borders. And that's what they've been working on at the G20. Let me show you this.
Jump in on that. I mean, the reality is there is a global framework. The Financial Stability Board, which is the body of the G20 central banks, finance ministries, came up with a set of recommendations for stablecoin policy. And the G20 adopted it. And now the members of the G20, their financial ministries and regulators are taking those globally agreed upon policy standards and putting them into law. So we actually have a framework that is global that is now being put in place. Now, are there variances here and there? There are, of course, local variances, whether it's banking regulation, insurance regulation, or any other type of financial regulation. There are variances, but it is a global standard. And there will continue
a global standard for stablecoins and a global standard for crypto regulation. Remember, this is a push from every country in the G20 and, of course, the countries that support them. This is a global push towards crypto adoption. And remember, right now you have about maybe 500 million people globally that are engaged with some type of crypto assets, whether they hold Bitcoin or some XRP or whatever the currency is. There's also a large chunk of the world that is starting to save money in, euro stable coins and dollar stable coins because maybe the currency in their country fluctuates too much and they want to make sure that the hard-earned money that they make doesn't lose value quickly. Obviously, inflation in the US and other places is still a risk, but I think in some of these maybe smaller countries that have printed way too much money, the currency might not be worth much at all. And so being able to be paid in US dollar stablecoins or euro stablecoins or pound stablecoins could really help those specific people. And what I want you to understand here is over the next, 2 to 3 years, we're going to be over 1 billion people, right? And then a few years after that, we're going to be over 1.5 billion and 2 billion. And soon everybody in the world will be using blockchain. Most people won't realize they're using it, but if they're making a payment and that payment is going through and having instant settlement, you're probably using either a stable coin or some type of bridge asset like XRP or HBAR, something like that. HBAR, yes, you get what I'm saying. All right, so Rosie Rios also she's saying here is crypto's here to stay. This is Bitcoin 2025 conference just happening. She's repeating her, same line that she's been repeating for the last few years. The train is left the station, but it is something when the former treasurer of the United States is sitting out here at a Bitcoin conference, letting the world know that you can't put crypto back in the box. It is in fact here to stay. And, you can either join it and possibly change your whole financial future, or you can ignore it and eventually you'll have to adopt it anyways. That's how this stuff works.
What 4 months make in terms of giving that green light for innovation to actually happen. You're going to hear me say a lot, the train has left the station. So, thank you. Bitcoin is here to stay. Blockchain is here to stay. And, the unfortunate part about government traditionally, it doesn't lead, it follows. And a lot of it is because you don't have a lot of the the subject matter experts who are literally coming into government. And so that's why the fact that this administration has taken the lead to form these task forces, to actually bring business and the expertise into those conversations, we're literally playing catch up from the last 10 years. Where things didn't happen. Now things are happening. And the fact that there's now this momentum that clarity is going to happen now for the very first time.
You know, people ask me all the time, like, Sensei, why are governments going to use XRP? Or, you know, why are they going to use, you know, XLM or whatever it is, HBAR, right? The reason governments are going to work with private companies is because governments inherently usually don't have the best and brightest. Yes, there are a ton of people that are extremely smart that go to work for the government to support their country. They are patriots. They want to do more. But when you're comparing a government sector of something to a private company that can go out and spend tens of millions of dollars hiring the smartest people out of Harvard and Princeton and all of these Ivy League schools, it's very difficult to compete with government salaries. And so governments all the time, they go and they look to partner with the private industry because that's where they know a lot of the innovation and technology will happen. And that's why I believe governments all around the world understand that they need to be working with companies like Ripple and Stellar and Circle and whatever else it is, right? You also have a very interesting warning that BlackRock just issued to their customers. And the warning reads, if quantum computing is able to advance in that way, there is a risk that quantum computing could result in the cryptography underlying the Bitcoin network becoming ineffective, which if realized could compromise the security of the Bitcoin network or allow a malicious actor to compromise the wallets holding Bitcoin owned by the trust or others in the Bitcoin network, which would result in losses to shareholders. So I've been telling you this for quite some time. The reason I believe that this big push is happening right now is because of quantum computers. If Bitcoin could be at risk, you got to understand that the current banking system that was built 5 decades ago is definitely at risk. If Bitcoin's at risk, it's all at risk. And this is why you look towards like XRP that has some built-in technology to fight against quantum computers. It'd be interesting to see how all that plays out. Also, XRP Las Vegas is starting here in a few days on the 30th. This is 3 days away. I want to wish all of you guys have a fantastic time. Just going to show you this. I'm not going to play the music because I will get striked, but this should be a really cool event. I wasn't able to attend this year because I just had hip surgery last month, and my doctor said that it would be a really bad idea for me to go walking around a casino and standing up for hours on end. I could do more damage to my body, but if you have fun, go to this. Send me some photos, guys. I'd love to see you here at the event, and I look forward to going next year and meeting some of you. And that would be so much fun. Also here, Kevin Cage posted this, the XRP ledger, a decentralized layer 1, renowned for its decade-long reliability and stability in tokenizing and exchanging digital and real-world assets, have been selected as the blockchain choice of this project. And so they're talking about what's happening, tokenizing land in Dubai. This is a $16 billion, about 7% of Dubai's real estate would be involved in this. This is to happen by 2033. So it is some time away, but I do think this is kind of showing the rest of the world that, hey, we can do this. If you're interested in tokenizing some of your land as well, we could do that on the XRP ledger. All of these are just, test use cases to show the rest of the world that we can in fact do this on the XRP ledger. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Crypto Sensei. Aloha. Have a good week.